Hello, Lisa Hiles from Perfectly Spoken. How are you today? That's good. I'm here for lesson 20 of my B1 course for intermediate level learners, or for those of you with an IELTS score from 4 to 4.5. Today's lesson is a little bit different. It's a review lesson, but it's a review of the whole course. Okay, so I have picked out some vocabulary and some grammar that we have covered in lessons 1 to 19. And this is a great opportunity for you to test your knowledge of that grammar and vocabulary before we move on to the next stage of the course. So this is a first kind of term, the first lessons, the first 20 lessons, and we have 60 in all. So you're a third of the way through the course. So now is a good time to pause and have a test and see how you do. Okay, let's have a look at the first task. In the first task, I've written it like a job interview. I wonder if I can appear. Hello. I've written it like a job interview, and I try to imagine the most useful way of revising question forms and a couple of tenses. Okay, and I want you to imagine that you are in an interview. It could be an interview for an exam, say, for example, an IELTS exam or a Cambridge exam, or a placement test, a speaking test for a place on a course. What do you have to do? Okay, you have to fill in the gaps in the conversation with the correct verb forms. Okay, number 1, what your name and where you from? I'm Lisa from England. Number 2, what you for a living? I'm a teacher. Number 3, what you teach? English as a foreign language. Number 4, what you most about your job? I really like to people from all over the world. Okay, the interview continues and then I'll do the answers. Here we go. Number 5, so remember, fill in the gaps. Okay, and when we get to number 12, we will look at the answers. Okay, number 5, who you at the moment? Okay, so this links back to what you most about your job, and I really like to people from all over the world. It's a follow-on question. Who you at the moment? Number 6, a course for intermediate adult learners. Number 7, how long you a teacher? "20 years, but I work less now I have children." Number 8, how old your children? Sorry, there should be a question mark at number 8. Apologies. How old your children? My son's 8 and my daughter's 6. Number 9, they on? That's a challenging one. Phrasal verb about relationships, friendships. they on. And we did that, the phrasal verbs for friendship, in lesson 16. And this is also from number 16. Yes, a house on fire. Can you remember the preposition that goes there? Number 11, they have a lot common. So this is talking about my son and my daughter's relationship. They're all connected to my son and my daughter. Number 9, they on. Number 10, yes, a house on fire. Number 11, they have a lot common. And number 12, they're both really keen music. Are you ready to look at the answers? So the test was a mixture of auxiliary verbs in the present simple, a present perfect simple, some present continuous, and some work on prepositions. Here we go. Here are the task answers, and I'm going to take myself out of this. Here we go. Number 1, what's your name and where do you come from? Of course. I'm Lisa from England. What do you do for a living? Yeah, it's the same as another way of saying what's your job, but it's quite common. What do you do for a living? I'm a teacher. What do you teach? Auxiliary do, needed for a present simple question, of course. English as a foreign language. What do you like most about your job? I really like speaking or talking to people from all over the world. So there it's very important to note that after the verb like, we need the verb plus ing. And we did likes and dislikes in lesson 4. Any problems that you have with the present simple, please go back to lesson 1. The present simple and present continuous we did in lesson 2. Task answers. Sorry, that's the same slide, isn't it? Hold on. Task answers continued, and I can stay in the picture for this one. Okay, number 5. Who are you teaching at the moment? So there we have the crucial time phrase, at the moment, to show something in process. Yep, something happening, something not finished. And we need the present continuous there, lesson 2. I'm doing or I'm teaching a course for intermediate adult learners. 7, how long have you been a teacher? Okay, present perfect simple, lesson 7. When we ask about an action that started in the past but continues up to the present and links them, isn't finished. Yeah, we need the present perfect simple here. And that is lesson 7. It's very common for people to say, how long are you a teacher? How long are you teaching? Yep, correct answer, how long have you been a teacher? Okay, 20 years, but I work less now. I have children. Number 8, how old are your children? Auxiliary be there. Number 9, phrasal verb, to get on, to get along, to have a good relationship. Do they get on? Yes, like a house on fire. So to get on like a house on fire is to really enjoy spending time with somebody. Yes, they like spending time together, a lot of time together. They have fun. They get on like a house on fire. Lesson 16. Again, they have a lot in common. They have the same interests. And they're both really keen on music. So they like music. That was likes and dislikes from lesson 4. They're both really keen on music. They're both really keen on listening to music. Remember, likes and dislikes, expressions of like and dislike always take these verb plus ing forms, which is why they're so popular in exams, I think, because it catches people out. It means learners have problems with them. Okay, how did you do? So that's the first 12. Good, brilliant. Let's carry on. Task 2 is about education. Yeah, so I've based this on lesson 18, which is something a bit more in your mind, maybe, if you have studied lessons 1 to 9 to 10 to 20 in a chronological order. Okay, let me go out of the slide. Complete the following sentences in the correct tense with learn by heart, have a talent for, do well, can't stand, and do a degree. Now, these sentences are all about me and my time at school and university, which is finished. So for finished time, we use the past simple. Okay? Here we go. Number 1, I loved school, and that's why I think. Number 2, although mathematical subjects, I adored English and literature. Number 3, luckily for foreign languages. Number 4, when I went to university, in German and Italian. And number 5, I had to hundreds of words and grammar rules. Okay. Let's have a look at the answers. Whoops. There we go. I love school, and that's why I did well, I think. Although I couldn't stand, I couldn't stand maths. I adored English and literature. Luckily, I had a talent for foreign languages, so I was good at. When I went to university, I did a degree in German and Italian, and I had to learn by heart hundreds of rules and words, or I had to learn hundreds of words and grammar rules by heart. Task 3, rules for a good friendship. Complete these rules with have to, must, don't have to, and mustn't. And this is a brief look at modality, again, lesson 11. And also I have done a Facebook lesson on this. Which one best fits the gap? Sometimes 2 are possible. Okay. Number 1, it's about friendship. What makes a good friend? In my view, you be trustworthy. If you can't trust someone, it's difficult to have any kind of relationship with them. Number 2, you have a good sense of humour. Laughing helps you fight stress. Number 3, you lie to me. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. And finally, number 4, you phone me every day. A couple of texts a week are fine. Okay, shall we have a look at the answers? Okay, and I think I'm trying to make the point that in English, in all of my lessons, there's very little difference really between have to and must. So in number one, in my view, you must or you have to be trustworthy. If you can't trust someone, it's difficult to have any kind of relationship with them. A lot of the grammar books, I wonder if I can bring myself into this. Here we go. A lot of the grammar books talk about must and have to in the positive form, having very similar meanings. Must is a feeling of necessity, of obligation, of something from you. I must do something. I think it's important. And have to can be from an outside authority. So, for example, law. You have to do this. For example, you have to have a passport to come to the UK. You have to have a driving license and you have to have insurance to drive a car on the road. You have to drive on the left. These are rules. But really, in this sense, you can use them both the same. In my view, you must or you have to be trustworthy. I think it's important. Okay. Number two is the same. You have to have a good sense of humour. It's not the law, but I think it's very, very, it's necessary. I think it's necessary. You must have a good sense of humour. You have to have a good sense of humour. Number three, you mustn't lie to me. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. So here you mustn't is I think it is really important that you do not do something. It's necessary that you do not lie to me. It's your obligation not to lie to me. It's not okay. There's no choice. Don't lie. Okay, you mustn't lie to me. And number four is completely different. You don't have to phone me every day. A couple of texts a week is fine. Here, you have a choice. You can phone me every day. That's fine. But I do not think it's necessary. I do not think it's an obligation. It's your choice. You can choose to phone me, to text me, and that still means you're a good friend. But you mustn't lie to me. I give you no choice. If you lie to me, we're not friends. Okay? I hope that's clear. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Task 4, advice for school leavers. Okay, and this is my final slide. And then I want you to go back and we'll talk about what I want you to do with the tasks. Okay, let me get out of the picture. Advice for people leaving school. So advice for school leavers. And this is a review of lesson 14 on advice. Complete these pieces of advice with do, get, had, should, take, and were. Number 1. You better choose something you love doing or studying. Number 2. University in the UK is very expensive. My advice, you'll a part-time job to help with money. Number 3. I'd something with future prospects, either for a job or for a promotion. And finally, number 4, whatever you do, you try to have a good relationship with your colleagues. I've met some of my closest friends at uni and work. Would you like to have a look at the answers? Here we go. Number 1, you'd better choose something you like doing or studying. You had better. You'd better. So I think it's very important that you do this. It's very strong advice. Number 2, if you take my advice, you'll get a part-time job to help with money. That is advice. If you take my advice, you'll get, but it's also an example of the first conditional, which we did in lesson 17. Number 3, if I were you, I'd do something with future prospects, either for a job or for a promotion. Okay, here we have the second conditional. I'm not you, but if I were you, I'd do something with future prospects. And here it has a function of giving advice. Or it's the second conditional as explored in lesson 19. Future prospects, what does that mean? If you go to university these days and you study law or accountancy or something with computers, you have good future prospects. So it's very probable that you will find a job. If, like me, you went to university and you study Italian, it's more difficult to get a job with future prospects because not many jobs need Italian. Okay, so if I were you, I'd do something with future prospects, either for a job or if you're already in a job, for a promotion, to move forward in your job, to get more money, to get more responsibility. And 4, whatever you do, you should try to have a good relationship with your colleagues. So there, you should is, I think it's a good idea if you do something. Okay. Now, the way I've written that test, it's quite a small test. There's only sort of 30 questions, really. But what I really think is important that you do now, that you have the answers, is that you go back and you try to personalise the tasks so that they are true for you and that you make them more memorable. So what do I mean by that? If we return to task 1, let me put, here I am, okay? So we've got what's your name and where are you from? Ask the question and answer it. Number 2, what do you do for a living? Ask yourself the question and answer it so it's true for you, okay? What do you, so for example, if you say, what do you do for a living? I work in an office. What do you do? What do you do in that office? I am a receptionist, or I am data processor, or I am a personal assistant. Make it personal to you, okay? What do you like most about your job? Answer the question. I really like plus noun. So I really like, I can only think of with verbs within. So I really like working with my colleagues. I really like sending emails in English. I really like using English for my job. Or I really like the people I work with, if you just want to follow it with a noun. Okay, so go back and personalise all of these. Who are you teaching at the moment here? Who are you working with at the moment? Tell me who you're working with. How long have you been a office worker, a salesperson? Number 7, personalise it so it's true for you. How long have you done that job? Okay. And then maybe you could tell me if you've got children, or you could tell me about siblings. Brother and sister, remember? Have you got any siblings? How old are your siblings? Do you get on? Yes, like a house on fire. We have a lot in common. We're both keen on what? So if you personalize these tasks, adapt them so that you make them yours, you take ownership of the language, I think it will make it more memorable. If you then see that you have problems, you can go back to the lessons that I did on those topics. Okay, there's the answers. So here, learn by heart, have a talent for, do well, can't stand, do agree, do a degree. Put those in sentences so they are true for you about your education. Okay, rules for a good friendship. What are your rules for a good friendship? What must people do, or what do people have to do to be friends with you? What mustn't they do, and what don't they have to do? Okay, make the language yours. Make it meaningful for you, for your context, for your reason for using it. And finally, advice for school leavers. What advice would you give to people leaving school now in your country? Yeah, is it a good idea to go to university, or is it a good idea to start a job, and why? Using those structures, you'd better, if you take my advice, you'll, if I were you, I'd, whatever you do, you should. Yeah, if you finish those structures so that they're true for your context, I think it'll help your memory. Okay, that's it. That's the end of lesson 20, and that's the end of the test and this third of the course. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.